After Juliana finds her children making love, she will discover something even more terrifying. One night after a long and exhausting day at work, Juliana, tired and exhausted, wanting to leave everything behind, arrives at the peace of her home. Upon entering, she quickly takes off her shoes and falls on the couch to relax and unwind. At that moment, she is interrupted by her children's nanny, with her pale face clearly reflecting enormous concern about what had happened, and she mysteriously approaches Juliana to tell her something spooky. When Juliana sees her, she cannot hide her concern and quickly gets up from the couch to see what is happening, so she asks the nanny repeatedly what is happening. Immediately, the nanny in a very low voice tells her, full of fear, how serious and delicate what has happened. Then the nanny, very mysteriously, makes sure that no one else is listening to her, and begins to tell her what happened. While Juliana is listening to the nanny's story, a chill takes over her body without avoiding feeling great concern, and she continues listening attentively to all the details of what happened to her little children. Juliana thinks the worst. The atmosphere becomes somewhat tense, as it turns out that the nanny, 18 years old, is Juliana's younger sister, and for some time she has been helping her sister with the care of her twins, who are 12 years old. Juliana to date has not had any complaints from her, but she doubts what her sister is telling her, so Damaris feels somewhat uncomfortable and gets a little angry when she realizes that Juliana doubts her words. After Juliana finds out about all this, a series of thoughts awaken in her that run through her head, so she feels an overwhelming curiosity to know what is true in all this. So Juliana decides to relax and goes to have tea before addressing this delicate situation with her children. Minutes later, Juliana decides to go face her children, and before reaching the children's room, she hears a moan, and when she opens the door she finds Carla without clothes next to her brother, who runs out of the room. But then they hug her mother, happy to see her, so Juliana feels very happy to be received by her children with so much love that she almost forgets what her sister just told her. Then Juliana fills herself with strength, and with a lump in her throat she tells them that they have to talk about something that Damaris has told her, so Francisco goes ahead and with complete certainty answers that what Damaris says is not true.
That is a lie.
Listening to her son, Juliana is perplexed and immediately turns to see Karen, who with the same confidence as her brother tells her that her aunt is lying. It is there that her mother asks them if they are being honest with her. She begs them not to hide anything from them, while she keeps her gaze fixed on them. Her frightened children assure her that her nanny is lying to her. As Juliana, tired of talking, sees that she achieves nothing, she leaves saying that she will get to the bottom of all this. All this makes Juliana find herself with a storm of thoughts in her mind, not knowing who is lying. On the one hand, she thinks that if her sister loves the children so much and takes care of them with so much love, she couldn't invent something like that. And on the other is the trust of her children, who have assured her so firmly that Damaris is lying. Juliana was struggling with an extremely delicate dilemma that her husband should not find out about until Juliana gets to the bottom of all this and discovers the whole truth. Juliana's uncertainty and anguish invade her heart, but she must think very carefully about what she has to do to discover the mystery of all this. Between so much worry and many thoughts, Juliana comes to the conclusion that the only way for her is to monitor her twins to find out who is telling the truth, and she must do it before her world falls apart. Meanwhile, everything continues as if nothing had happened. The strange thing is that her sister Damaris has not mentioned the incident again. Juliana thinks that perhaps Damaris misinterpreted the situation between the children and perhaps observed something that was not the case. One afternoon, when Juliana was cleaning Francisco's room, when she opened one of the boys' drawers she found something that left her completely disconcerted, and she immediately began to scream in despair, calling for Francisco. Francisco immediately arrives and is perplexed before his mother, who hysterically shows him a piece of his sister's underwear that she has found in his drawer, and demands an explanation as to why it is in his room. However, the boy knows nothing. And due to the insistence of an answer, he answers that the nanny perhaps made a mistake and placed the garment there by mistake. With this fact, Juliana's concern intensifies even more, since she believed that everything was a misunderstanding, but now everything is turning over in her head again, without finding any logical explanation. But now she was sure that something strange was happening. Suspicions drilled into her mind, creating thoughts that clouded her judgment, finding herself trapped in a web of lies with no one to believe. Juliana is desperate, not knowing what is happening with her children, looking at the sky from her balcony, distraught and with her face wet with tears. Powerless in the face of this situation, she has no choice but to wait, alert for any detail that may provide a new clue to decipher this whole mystery. The next day, when Juliana goes to her office, she thought that the children were alone in the house, since her sister had asked for permission to be absent, so she had the great idea to return to watch Karen and Francisco. When Juliana arrived home and opened the door, she was met with overwhelming silence, like an omen that something terrifying was about to be discovered. Juliana's heart was beating harder and harder. She called the children, but without getting a response, she searched the entire lower part of the house but did not find them. Then Juliana takes off her shoes and begins to climb the stairs with furtive steps, hoping to find each of the children in their respective rooms, sleeping or watching television. Then little by little she approaches and notices that one of the doors is ajar. Intrigued, she pushes the door open very slowly and is shocked by the terrible scene she sees. She immediately shouts and asks them, "What are you doing?" At that moment, terror appears on Juliana's face when she finds her children naked in bed. At first glance, Juliana could tell that they had made love, so she explodes with anger and approaches them, who are stunned when they are surprised by Juliana and quickly get dressed while their mother reproaches them. The furious mother demands an explanation from the little ones about what happened, but they remain completely silent, so Juliana loses patience and shakes them hard by the shoulders, while she again asks for an explanation of what happened. Finally, Francisco, terrified and with a trembling voice, swears to his mother that they were not doing anything. The girl repeats the same thing, then the two burst into tears, which further disconcerts Juliana, who again begins to have many doubts. At night, Juliana has no choice but to tell what happened to her husband Eustaquio, who gets very upset with his children, but in the end no one can blame them, since the children continue to affirm their innocence. This worries Juliana again, who dedicates herself to devising a plan that will definitively decipher the enigma that surrounds this entire situation. At times, Juliana thinks of telling Damaris not to come tomorrow to take care of the children, but the nanny was taken aback, not understanding why her sister had made such a sudden decision. Damaris immediately perceives an inquisitive look from Juliana, who in turn looks away at her, telling her in a dry tone of voice that she will leave the office earlier tomorrow and it makes no sense for the nanny to come for so few hours. For now, Juliana can only think of leaving her children alone and returning home early to surprise them, without knowing that she could be the one surprised. The next day, after leaving her children alone all day, Juliana returns home early and enters without making any noise. She quickly goes up to her children's rooms and finds them playing calmly and without problem. But suddenly she encounters something unexpected. Her husband is at home when he is supposed to be working, and upon greeting him, she asks him what he is doing there so early. So Eustaquio stutters and, also surprised to see her at that time in the house, answers to her that he returned to watch the children. Apparently they have had the same idea, but that is not the case, since he was very scared when he saw Juliana, and she realized that. A little frustrated at not discovering the mystery, Juliana heads to the kitchen to continue with her daily chores. However, already in her room while her husband sleeps peacefully, she dedicates herself to thinking about an efficient strategy to get to the truth of what is happening with her children. Juliana turns in bed until an inspiring idea arises in her head. She finally understands that she really wants to know what is happening with her children. She will have to put hidden cameras in the whole house. So Juliana couldn't wait, and the next day, she bought a hidden camera system, and while everyone was sleeping she started installing them. Her hands trembled with the excitement that soon everything would become clear, and that she would finally know if her children were lying or telling the truth. Juliana silently begins to install the closed circuit, and in a short time she finishes positioning all the hidden cameras. In the silence you can only hear her agitated breathing, which she sighs with a satisfied air, while she says to herself, "This will be my secret." She then returns to her bed, with sure steps, knowing that very soon the enigma will be solved. The following days pass normally, while Juliana thoroughly reviews the endless videos, which so far she has not found anything wrong with. However, she is waiting for the videos to reveal what she fears so much. Although everything appears to be normal. Until finally she finds something in one of the videos that powerfully catches her attention. When the camera begins to play blurry images, this worries Juliana, who tries to clarify the images. When suddenly the image could be visualized, Juliana felt a chill run through her entire body and her heart began to beat very hard, while she repeated, "Oh no, it can't be." Immediately her face was filled with tears when she saw such a disgusting scene. Her mind tried to assimilate the truth that was hidden in each of the dark scenes. Juliana tries to calm down so she can better think about the actions she should take now that she knows the truth. As dawn breaks, Juliana still doesn't know what to do. Damaris immediately arrives singing as usual and is surprised to see her sister motionless on the couch, her dark circles showing that she has not slept all night. Juliana remains static, while scared Damaris asks her what has happened to her. When suddenly, Juliana's only response is a sinister laugh that makes her sister shudder, who thinks that Juliana has gone crazy. So Damaris runs out in search of Eustaquio, who comes down from his room quickly, and when he sees her he doesn't understand why Juliana is like this, and very scared he tries to get her up from the couch, but Juliana, very angry, yells at him to let her go. With uncontrollable fury she asks Damaris not to come near her either. Eustaquio and Damaris are still very confused and still do not understand what is happening. At that moment Eustaquio loses patience and demands that his wife tell him what is happening. So Juliana angrily tells them that they know very well what is happening. Then Juliana, calmer, takes them by the hand and pulls them to the room where the cameras are and turns them on. In the faces of Eustaquio and Damaris you can see the intrigue and fear they felt, when suddenly the sound of a click starts a mysterious recording that makes the faces of Eustaquio and Damaris turn pale, as they see those creepy images. In the video you can clearly see when Eustaquio arrives early from work, and after a while you see when the children stealthily go to spy on their father and Damaris, who are in the guest room making love. Everything is evident in the video. Finally the enigma is solved. Eustaquio and Karen make love while the children watch them, then the little ones go to the room and imitate what they have seen, but Francisco and Karen in the video take off their clothes and go to bed together, but without making love. That same day, Juliana kicks Eustaquio out of the house and also fires her sister, who at that moment repents and asks Juliana for forgiveness for what she did. But her sister, although she forgives Karen, never lets her into her house again. Within all the unpleasantness of that situation, Juliana found great relief in knowing that her children did not have relationships, and that they only imitated their father and aunt. Juliana immediately decides to divorce Eustaquio, and with a smile on her face and full of hope, Juliana decides to live a free and independent life with her 2 children. So from now on Juliana and her twins will form a completely happy family.